Welcome to another Strat Chat. My name is Jason, and I am the manager of XBRL Services here at DisclosureNet. And today I just wanted to kind of go over at a high level some of the points that we had in our last webinar, which was titled Same Mandate, Different Problems. And some of those topics that we covered were some of the issues that we had at the beginning of the XBRL mandate, and what are some of the issues we have today. So let me start with some of the issues in the past, some of the things that we had to deal with during the first tier of filers. So at the beginning, the EFM wasn't clear. We had a new mandate, new rules, and they weren't 100% clear. And obviously over time, the EFM has changed. They've made it a little bit more clear, and we understand it at a greater standpoint right now. Also, the taxonomy was limited during the first release. So the first release only had a certain number of elements. Today we have probably about triple that. So today, our taxonomy is more versatile. It has more elements, more options for you. So that was some of the challenges at the beginning. We also had, because of the limited taxonomy, we had excessive custom elements. So a lot of companies would go out there and say, well, I can't find this, so I'm just going to extend the element, which created kind of that snowball effect we have today where we have a lot of custom elements in some of the filings. It is getting better, but we still have to do some work as filers to still minimize those custom elements. And also, we had entry points in the original taxonomy. So if I was, say, in the retail or if I was in finance, I would just go in through that entry point, and my taxonomy, again, would be even more limited. So again, that created some problems and misunderstandings about the taxonomy. So those are some of the issues that we had during the first tier of filers, possibly even the second tier. But as we got to the third tier and 2 years after that, when everything was as furnished and not, or as filed and not as furnished, we have a better taxonomy today. It got better throughout the filing, but we still have challenges. And what are some of those challenges? Well, in my mind, some of those challenges are element selection. Obviously, you'll hear a lot about this. Finding a suitable element. And that means finding the element that fits your filing and understanding what goes into that number that you're filing, that accounting concept. Extended elements, we still have a problem creating and managing those. So not just that we have custom elements, because we can, and some of them are suitable, but creating them properly, making sure that we avoid those LC3 errors, as we call them, which is the camel case errors. Providing proper documentation labels, proper balance types. Those are very critical to that element. It tells a lot to the analyst what is going into that number or how they should be reading that. Also, new UGT. So getting up to date with the new UGT, a lot of filers are still behind. They're 2-3 quarters behind sometimes, and they're still playing catch up. So we need to make sure that we migrate to the new UGT as soon as possible, but also with that, we need to track changes. We need to track our changes. We need to understand what has changed from Q1 to Q2 to Q3, maybe what has changed from one UGT to another, and make sure we know why those changes taken place. The second challenge is with hypercubes. So you might know them as tables or dimensional tags. Hypercubes are very important. They tell a deeper story to that number, okay? So we need to make sure we have the right hypercube, the right table, axis, domain relationship. So that means understanding what a hypercube is and how it relates to your filing. Choose correct hypercubes. That's the next point. And it's key that you choose the right hypercube, because the table, axis, domain member relationship is going to tell that reader where that note or where that number is coming from, what note. So it could be different from, say, defined benefit plan to your fair values, okay? So the table member might be a little bit different. The line items member or the line items element might be different, and the accounting concepts underneath that line items element might be different. So we need to understand when to choose a certain hypercube versus another. Create extension members whenever possible, okay? So this relates more to, like, say, your debt note. So you have different types of debt, lines of credit, and they have different percentages, different due dates. Make sure you create custom members to tag those. And that's very important, again, so that we don't tag everything with a general US GAAP element when it comes to members. So the third challenge is calculations, and I think that calculations is very important because it kind of overlaps into the negation topic, okay, negating tags. But I'll just talk about calculations here today. So apply calculations whenever possible. So in your balance sheet, your income statement, comprehensive income, wherever you have a calculation, you need to have that same calculation in XBRL. Understand the basic mechanics. So what I try to tell my clients is, as a rule of thumb, is that whenever the summation point, so in this case maybe it's assets, total assets, is a debit balance, then all the debits within that calculation hierarchy need to be added and all credits subtracted. And it's vice versa for, say, a calculation with a summation point that's credit. All the credits should be added and the debits should be subtracted. So follow that rule. It's a rule of thumb. There's one exception to that rule, obviously, is the cash flow statement. We will add net income instead of subtract it, even though it's a credit balance. We must do that because we are taking our net income and subtracting out our non-cash items. Okay? We also have unique summations. So in the case that in our filing that we have, say, liabilities, say we have non-current liabilities, and we're subtracting that from our total liabilities, and we're coming to our current liabilities. Okay, so in XBRL, we can't do that. We can't subtract the credit balance from a credit balance. So what we need to do is we need to adjust that for XBRL. So those are the three main issues today. There's one more, obviously negations, as I talked about with calculations, but you should be able to capture most of those with calculations if you apply them properly. So now, how do we get over those hurdles? How do we mitigate that risk? Well, plan reviews quarterly, all right? Make sure that you are reviewing your taxonomy, not just the tags and the values, but the elements itself, okay? The structure of the taxonomy, every note, levels 1 through 4, okay? Make sure that you're reviewing them. And you don't have to do it every quarter. You can take note 1 through 4, Q1. You can take notes 5 through 8 in Q2, et cetera. And that way, when you get to your 10K, you get to that final annual filing, you might only have 3 or 4 notes that you have to review or some extra elements within that 10K. So if you do a little bit at a time, you'll get through that a lot easier. And the more you do that, the faster it'll get because you won't have to go through everything and you'll be more adjust to doing these reviews. Second point is migrate early. We want to migrate as soon as possible. If you migrate as soon as possible, you're going to be doing a little bit of this review anyways because you're going to be getting rid of deprecated items. You're going to be changing the taxonomy slightly. You'll be replacing elements. And you'll be capturing those things that you may have missed in the last couple of filings. So migrate as soon as possible and use the new elements and the new hypercubes whenever they're available. Point 3 stays on the same topic, but if you haven't migrated to the new UGT, use the elements that are there for you. So anything that's new, but say you're on still 2014, 2015 taxonomies out there, but you haven't migrated yet and you need an element that's in 2015, well, create a custom element based on that new element, and then when you migrate, it should be an easy transition depending on what kind of software you're using. The last point is plan ahead. Plan ahead whenever possible. It kind of sums up the first 3 points, but create a plan for the year, a checklist even, and make sure that you follow it, make sure that you document everything, and that way you'll kind of mitigate any of the risk that you have. If you're not sure how to kind of plan ahead, you need some guidance, obviously, try to contact your service provider. You can contact me if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to help you. So with that today, I would like to thank you for joining me, and until next time, happy filing.